And some fans are okay with this because I think it's something they didn't see coming. While other fans look at it like, really? I mean, even I will agree with that. To me, it's more of a cop-out. I mean, I can understand doing some Deus Ex Machina stuff just because, you feel it might fit in well, and sometimes it's done well. It is. Sometimes it is done well. But on the other hand, when you do certain Deus Ex Machina stuff, or cop-outs, if you will, it could be done in such a way that fans will not really accept it. I mean, even if they saw it coming, they wouldn't accept it, and here's why. They won't accept it, I should say, and here's why. Because in their eyes, you just had us waste 12 issues, 3.5 to 4 months worth of comics, and in just one panel, towards the end of the final issue, wiped that all out and basically made it meaningless. In other words, like, what was the freaking point in the first place? And again, some fans are okay with it because, like I said, it's something they didn't see coming, and it makes sense because, and it makes sense because there are certain characters like Sonic, Mega Man, Wily, Eggman, and even Styx mostly, who remember the events. Styx more so than anybody, I guess, but who remember something happening, and like I say, Styx probably more so than anybody, and knowing each other. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said in the review of 52, it's like you have it's like Sonic and Mega Man don't know what happened, but they know that they helped each other and they thank each other for that in their thoughts. And you have Wily and Eggman basically echoing sentiments that the next time they have an opportunity to work with each other, they will succeed. But you have Styx, who for some odd reason remembers everything, for who knows why, maybe because she's the only Boom character there, and you're trying to, really push Boom as a franchise, even though the games didn't do so well, and the comic book itself is coming to an end next month, and it's only going to be regulated now, or e-regulated, to every now and then being a comic, or several comics, or stories in super special magazines and digests. It's like, really, it's like, really, okay? It's like, really, again, for those that didn't like it, it's like, what's the point? But then again, there are those that look at it like, hey, at least they do remember. And yes, it does kind of wipe out everything we just read and just start things back off at the end of certain events. Like with Sonic, it starts us at the end of both 272 and the 75th issue of Sonic Universe. Mega Man starts us off, I think, around 49, at the end of 49. Boom basically starts us off, who knows where, possibly towards the end of 10. Or not 10, but towards the end, at the end of, what was it? 7. At the end of 7. And that's it. It's like, again, basically the ending here is a very mixed bag for a lot of fans. Some didn't like it, like I mentioned, and some were okay with it because they saw that towards the end, it didn't really, continuity-wise, didn't mess with anything in the comics. It didn't really mess with anything in the comics, continuity-wise. It's like it just reset everything towards the end of, like I said, 272 of Sonic the Hedgehog, 75 of Sonic Universe, and 49 of Mega Man, and 7 of Boo. And that's it. It didn't really interfere. Okay, fine. Whatever. But then you have Sigma. Now here's a villain that potentially, and it showed throughout this entire crossover, I'll give it credit there, showed throughout the entire crossover, had the potential to be the biggest, badass villain that any of those comics ever had. Yes, he was he was a Mega Man X, he was an eccentric villain. But here's a guy that basically, here's a villain, if you will, that's not really human in a sense. He's basically a virus, he's basically a corrupted former Maverick hunter that, got corrupted by something called the Sigma virus. We don't know where that came from. And here's somebody, in a sense, that's doing something that not even the Doctors tried to do in the last issue. He's basically trying to evolve himself into godhood, and by doing so, he's trying to drain the life force out of not just Sonic's world, the Boom world, and Mega Man's world, but all worlds. And here's a guy that I said it myself. I think I pointed it out one time. Here's a guy that when Sonic and Mega Man were turned into roboticized masters, and they basically fought each other before they got back to Lost Hex, automatically knew that the reason they were restored, Mega Man and Sonic restored each other, was due to the Doctors. That was the reason. Here's a guy that basically wanted the Doctors dead, even if they didn't betray him. So, there's that. But again, this guy, like I said, had the potential, and it showed, to be a very badass villain. Especially at the fact that he didn't just stop and gloat. Yes, he gloated, there's no doubt about it. But he didn't always stop and gloat. He just kept pressing, especially in the later issues, he kept pressing on and on with the attack on the unified army. And yes, again, he did gloat, but he gloated sometimes during his battles. He basically looked at the heroes and like, oh, these things are pathetic. Whatever, we could take them easily. And it wasn't until he reached that third form that it proved he was he could be badass. Because basically when he got that third form, which some have even said is almost like a Vegeta of Dragon Ball like outfit, and basically he started just smacking everybody around. And he was gloating at the same time. Like he took one of the big monsters from Monster Hunter, picked them up, I think it's Monster Hunter, said the word adorable, and just tossed it like it was nothing. He took certain characters and just smacked them around. It's like they would come at him, you're nothing. Boing! You're nothing. Boing! He just basically wiped out all the heroes, all the heroes and villains of the unified army. No, he didn't kill them, but he basically just smacked them around like they were nothing. And that's another thing, like I mentioned earlier, that kind of upset fans about that cast of characters, of game characters from these franchises, from these gaming franchises coming in. You gave him a hero moment, but then here, you just brought him in to get smacked around by Sigma. I mean, you basically made all the heroes look weak in a sense, and especially towards the end. Now, true, it was discovered, or has been known, but I think a lot of fans forgot about it, that Sigma's power was basically given to him via the Master Engine. So when the Doctors were messing with the Master Engine, he started to lose that power, he started to become weak. So, and thus he ended up being defeated by Sonic, Super Sonic, and Super Armor Mega Man. But when you get down to it though, this was probably potentially the most threatening, badass villain they had for not just the Mega Man comics, but the Sonic comics as well. Because he was willing Because basically he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his godhood. He was. But again, it goes back to how this whole thing ended. You basically have Xander Payne open a time portal, shoot him when he's in his zero form, and that's it. Everything that happened in the crossover ceased to be. Everything was reset back to normal. And then you have the ending even after the fight. You have every character, and I mentioned this in the Mega Man review, you have every character with their signature powers trying to do whatever they can to repair these Genesis portals, including Mega Man and Sonic using Chaos Control in the Super form, and nothing works. And you're basically, like I mentioned just a little bit ago, you're basically making them look powerless. You're basically wiping out the signature powers. And all because what? All because of the fact that story-wise, reality was collapsing, was being destroyed, and thus with reality being destroyed, so was the powers. But then, again, you have it all wrapped up by what Xander Payne did, which some fans liked and a lot of fans didn't. So overall, it's like I said in that one video. It's just been, Worlds Unite has just overall been one confusing, mixed bag. It's been basically, when I asked the question, has Worlds Unite, was it and is or was Worlds Unite confusing and disappointing in that one video? I think I can basically say this about my overall review of Worlds Unite, of the Worlds Unite crossover. And that it was confusing and it was a mixed bag. That's what it is. I think that's basically what it was overall. When you look at it, this was nothing more than a very confusing mixed bag. And I say mixed because, like I said, it had its moments that were good and it had moments that were bad. And then at the end of it, in the last page, we see this planet, this like whole planet, Earth-like planet, and you see this purple energy around it. We don't know if that's the Boom universe, or it's obviously not Sonic's world or Mega Man's world, but you have this one little big Earth-like planet, and you have Styx basically hinting at the fact that everything's just tied together by some nexus. And the word nexus is bolded in capital letters. Not like, oh, big color flaming letters. No, just italic, bold, capital letters. Which basically hints at the fact that we're going to probably get a third and final crossover. Now, how that's going to work, I don't know. Hopefully the Mega Man comic book will be back on shelves in the near future for that to happen. But before I go, let's talk about the possibility of a third crossover. A third and what could be a trilogy. Let's talk about that for a second. You see, I'm just checking my time there. You see, when any kind of media, whether it's movies or comic books or whatever, do a trilogy, they usually have a reason for it. There's usually some kind of connection to get to that trilogy. You know, when you take a look at Avengers, you look at the end of it, you know, you get the idea that all the movies that led up to it, and then the ending of Avengers, and then Avengers Age of Ultron, you know, they're all hinting, especially with the post-credit scenes or whatever, or mid-credit scenes, are all hinting at the fact that we're going to get a third movie, but it's going to be in 2 parts. It's a trilogy that's going to be in 2 parts, and that is Avengers Infinity War. And if you're building towards that trilogy, you want to build towards it and give it a foundation so that that third part in the trilogy will be a huge success and people will like it. Now I don't know what they're going to do to get to this possible third part, if there is a third crossover. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to build towards it when they're just going to have Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Universe. It'll be really interesting to see how we get to that part, how we get to that portion, how we build towards it. And like I said, sometimes trilogies end up being good and they end up being bad. One trilogy that's real good in my opinion is the Dark Knight trilogy. Batman Begins was good, The Dark Knight was good, and The Dark Knight Rises was good. Some might be a little iffy on Dark Knight Rises, but still it was very good. Thus you had a successful trilogy. You take a look at trilogies like the original Star Wars trilogy. Not the Prelude movies, but the original one here. And people praise that trilogy as being good. It's setting the standards for what a movie like Star Wars should be. It had a continuing story arc. You kept building towards it. So now the question is, like I said, how does Ian Flynn or whoever the main writers are and creative team is at the time, between now and that potential third crossover, how do they build towards it? How do we get to that point? Now, with it being something of a nexus, with it being like a nexus, some of us may not know the scientific terminology of nexus, but basically it's like a genesis, if you will. And I know people don't want to hear that word again, but it's like a genesis, if you will. But it's like a genesis, if you will. It's the start of a new beginning. It's like a revolution. It's like the start of a new beginning. A nexus, it's like this, the future is now kind of deal. Like this is the nexus of the universe. This is the nexus of sports. This is the next generation, if you will. And some might say, well, that sounds all great and everything, but what does that have to do with this? Well, sometimes a nexus, in scientific-wise, and especially if you watch sci-fi movies or read sci-fi books, a nexus also deals with, things revolving around a prime universe, a prime timeline, a prime, atmosphere, as well as prime characters. Now, for anybody that probably watched Turtles Forever, which was the 20th or 25th, I think, 20th or 25th. I think it was the 25th. Yeah, the 25th anniversary crossover movie, Turtles Forever. Everybody remembers that the building point in that movie was for the Shredder to go into the Prime universe, destroy the Prime Turtles, and thus destroy all Turtles across all universes, in all realities. That's basically what it sounds like this could be like. But how they build towards it is going to be a question in itself. How are you going to use the Sonic the Hedgehog comic and the Sonic Universe comics on their own to build towards this potential third crossover? How are you going to